Well,
every time I see that handle.
Mingo, I know, I know. I didn't come up with the name, but the idea is that we have more gamers in a way than like old school Bitcoiners who know what Mt. Gox is. Okay, and yeah, I believe we are streaming soon. I'm just gonna check the streams just to make sure we are live.
I gotta check this out too.
Yeah, I'll do a bit of introduction actually at the start. Okay, yeah, we are live. Hey, hello everybody. Okay, thank you, and welcome to the first episode of what we are calling Lightning Lap. It's the show where we talk about Bitcoin, gaming, and our guest does a lap around Satoshi Village, but more on that later. Today we have three very special guests. We're going to talk about Lightning, we're going to talk about green mining, proof marshals, among other things. But in no significant order, we have Brad Mills, Peter Todd, and Crypto Mags. From what I know, Brad is a magician, Peter is a fine art student, and Crypto Mags worked in a library, the children's section. But I'm sure there's other things about you, so if you just would like to give a quick intro about yourself, like how you got into Bitcoin, and yeah, let's start there. So do you want to go first, Brad?
Sure, yeah. So I got into Bitcoin. I was a recovering magician, like you said, and I got into entrepreneurship, and I was developing Facebook games,
Wow.
and had a game that had virtual currency in it, and I experienced a hyperinflationary event in my game, and started to have to become an economist to manage this game economy that kind of acted like Zimbabwe, and
That's pretty
around the same
interesting.
time,
Yeah.
I was learning about how fiat sucks and how the money I was making with my game was being devalued constantly, and I had to get out of fiat. So it was 2011. Silver had just gone to like a run to $40, and the guy that I was looking at online for import tips said, "Hey, check out this digital gold thing called Bitcoin. You can mine it with your gaming computer." So that was my first introduction to Bitcoin. I was like, "This is amazing." I got digital currency because I was running a virtual currency game.
I didn't know that. Yeah, it's
I
fascinating.
was learning about gold and why dollars suck. So that was my intro to Bitcoin.
Oh, well, yeah, that's quite interesting, especially the idea, like, I'm a game developer myself, and then you have these stories about, like, very popular games that have, like, inflation and deflationary problems, and, and, yeah, I think it was one game that had the economy was comparable to a small country or something like that. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, cool.
It's like quite a lot for games. Like, think about roller coaster tycoon. You're creating your own city and mini economy.
It's definitely like a big rabbit hole to go down. I think the idea that, like, does it putting Bitcoin in a game, does it solve problems, or does it make these problems worse, or does it add different problems? I think it's quite an interesting sandbox, by itself.
Note how there's a real distinction between like online games, which are okay with you exchanging real-world money for in-game items, and ones that go to great lengths to ban that.
Mm.
So it's a very big like design decision. It can go either way.
Yeah, it's kind of in a way, a game developer wants to kind of be Keynesian, and he wants to control everything. He controls the physics. So does he want to give up his game economy to a currency? But let's continue with the intros, and maybe we can jump back into that. Peter, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Well, so my first introduction to digital currency rather than Bitcoin was actually when I was a teenager, and I got interested in the freenet censorship-resistant publication system, and that was all well and good. But pretty quickly I realized, this really needs like a digital currency, because you can't really, have like you can't oppose the government without money. If you want to go and be able to effectively, make use of publication and be able to go and have, real political opposition, you need money as well. You need things like, pay people to write articles and all kinds of stuff. And I started reading about digital currency. I also was learning a bit about crypto. And of course, quite famously, I managed to get on a mailing list with Adam Back and
Nice.
Hal Finney all the way back then, which would be 2002 or something, or 2001 or so. So
how old were you then?
Yeah, that's where I kind of wound up there, like 16.
Well, yeah. I think probably like you
Long
and
time
Blue
ago.
Matt were kind of the youngsters, maybe around. I remember Blue Matt had a similar thing, did he? He was like a kid in high
I
school.
was the youngster then. Blue Matt was the youngster more recently.
I see. Okay, I see. So he's
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, long story short is then when I actually read about the Bitcoin white paper, which I think was like late 2009, early 2010, when I read it, I was like, oh, shoot, I should have thought of this. This is brilliant.
So
But unfortunately, I was working full time at the time, plus trying to go get another degree. So, I didn't really pay much attention to it for the next couple of years.
you were doing a fine arts degree, if I remember. So that was
Yeah.
also playing around with tech on the side, or
Well, I'd finished I think at that point I'd finished the fine arts degree, and I started working at as an analog electronics designer at a startup making a new type of gravity sensor.
yes.
And when you're like an analog electronics degree designer with fine arts degree, you kind of feel like maybe you should get another one. So I was also doing physics part time, but I never wound up finishing that. I went into Bitcoin full time instead.
I know the feeling. So, go on, Max.
You're the most OG person I've met in person.
So you haven't met Adam back then?
No, I haven't had the.
Well,
pleasure.
we got to fix that because
Okay.
I'm nowhere near as OG as him.
Fine.
It's almost like vampires, in a way. Like I saw a vampire movie where it's like, oh, he's 1,000-year-old vampire, but then like a 3,000-year-old vampire comes in, and it's like people are like,
You haven't met Count Back, have you?
yeah. Sorry, I'm just gonna have to get. We had an audio issue at the beginning, so Brad, do you just want to give your intro again? Sorry about that, guys. People didn't get it, so if you just want.
Yeah, I was on the mailing list in 2011 when 2000 before Peter Todd actually, and I was working 3 jobs as a physicist who was also a personal assistant to Craig Wright, and I was rescuing Adam back from drowning in a pool, and he told me about this Bitcoin thing. And
you fostered orphan puppies at some point too, right? That's what I remember.
Yeah, I hold the multi-signature to Satoshi's coins, so now I do a podcast
Called Magic Internet Money.
called Magic Internet Money. That's me.
Yeah, that's exactly what Brad said at the beginning. So just.
I think that was better, wasn't it?
Yeah, Max, you're gonna have to top that maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Hold on. So I was working at the library, and I opened up a book, and I came across a paper wallet of Satoshi's.
Oh shit! Nice.
Is that a sufficient origin story?
Only if you cryptographically sign with it.
Yeah, the book was
Satoshi
provided.
pattern?
The librarian provided her the book from Best Buy. It was a new book.
Yeah, no. So I on a more serious note, before Bitcoin, I was working in government on carbon markets, electricity pricing, and economic development. Like, how can we help our startups grow? And then I fell down the rabbit hole. First, it was more like what is this? Price is going up. 2017. Let's check this out. But honestly, once you kind of get in, and especially if you need to send money overseas and you're standing in line at the post office and you're like, it's been like 30 minutes, this is so slow. And then at the same time that week, you do a transaction and you're like, oh my God, it's magic. It just got sent instantaneously. Like, that was, I think, the time when I started to get converted to this religion. But from like a personal note, I mean, I have family whose land was taken away when the borders of Poland moved, and so personal experience and seeing kind of that loss and the reminiscing of how wonderful it used to be, you can see why censorship resistance and oh my God, talking seizure of assets really plays in. So from a personal note, it's important.
Yeah, I've heard that story a lot. Actually, I think a lot. My sister-in-law is from Bulgaria, and she told me stories about how just like all her family's wealth was just taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that it makes it's pretty tough in Bitcoin too. So I also represent all affected users of Quadriga, as appointed by the Supreme Court in Canada to oversee the bankruptcy and
Really?
also represent
Wow.
all users. And people lost a lot of money, and some of them like all their life savings, and it's a sad story. So it still happens. We're getting better about bringing on the newbies and onboarding them and trying to figure out the best way to do that so they don't get, hacked. Like, Brad, I think you just posted recently about someone that lost 50K with the ledger phishing.
Yeah, they got fooled by that ledger. We were trying to like double spend the coins, but he paid too high of a fee. So it got confirmed before we could try to
Yeah,
contact some miners
I
and
think
get it back.
hardware wallets in a way can be dangerous for new people because it kind of gives them a false sense of security, and then there's like all these social scams. I think you spoke a bit about that, Peter, actually. I remember on a podcast.
Yeah, in fact, I would go as far to say is hardware wallets are, depending on your threat model, dangerous for any user.
Yeah.
Because you've got this piece of hardware that anyone in the supply chain knows is going to use to protect some Bitcoin. That is a very big target.
There's also no plausible deniability. Say that you buy like an iPhone or something that, you can say like, well, yeah, I didn't buy this for Bitcoin, but if you buy a hardware wallet, you can't say that you're a target.
I just wanted to be cool and show people I have a cold card.
In Japan,
that's just a calculator, though.
When I was in Japan, they had this. There was a popular craze where people would decorate their treasure and use it as bling, and then obviously Japan is like a very safe country, so maybe they think they can do that. Although one person did get robbed in a hotel once, but it's like, it's a crazy thing.
Well, even let's say you don't properly back up your seed, right? And then let's say you haven't logged into it for like a year or two and you're like, crap, what was my PIN again? And then you blow it up after 3 tries for the ledger and it's like, oh, crap.
And I can't believe like they set limits like 3. I mean, do the math on this. You don't need 3. One of my pet peeves about PIN number systems.
Like, so would you say then for like a new person, like what would you tell them? Would you say just it's better, if you're completely not tech savvy, it's just better to use a trusted custodial exchange, or would you not even recommend that?
No, I wouldn't recommend that either, because I mean, well, after all, the threat is not someone getting, like, the biggest threat usually is not someone getting your private keys. It's someone getting access to the wallet.
Yeah.
And the private keys are, it doesn't matter if they get the private keys if they can go and get a withdrawal to happen. And that could happen just as easily in a trusted custodial wallet. If anything, it seems to happen more often through people getting their accounts hacked into.
Yeah, I think what a useful practice is to get one of those like YubiKeys or like the Google Titan. So at least like as people, I had one day, it was about a year ago, is when I first started working with 3IQ to launch the Bitcoin fund on the Toronto Stock Exchange. And suddenly I got, within one day, something like 13 different tries to get into my Gmail account.
Yeah.
And that worried me. So I ended up getting one of those because good luck logging in at that point. And you could see they were coming in from different parts, like, US, Europe, Russia, or whatever. So add that plus your 2FA, and then it's a lot easier to hack in. I
think like 2FA is a good low-hanging fruit that everybody just, it should be in a way taught in schools, in a way, or it's just like basic kind of security nowadays that a lot of people don't know about. Sorry, you're going to say something, Peter?
I think the big thing though is like, for actual advice, there's really, is it money you can afford to lose? In which case, I don't know, do whatever works for you. Who cares? But if it's not, well, and this is advice I've actually given people: just go get a second cell phone, put a Bitcoin wallet on, and don't use it for anything else.
Yeah. Just buy a used, like, if you want to.
Yeah, I know. Back in the early days, some people would just get an iPod Touch or something, which is fairly cheap. And then I think they said at the time, Bread Wallet was the wallet that people could just install. It was like, just put it in there and to forget about it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And that is actually quite clever because it does remove the cellular network as a potential
and it's cheaper
issue.
As well. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know anything about iPod Touches.
I don't think they sell them anymore, do they?
I have no idea.
No, I used to use them a lot because I use it to develop apps. I didn't really want to use it as a phone, so it was a cheap thing. But no, I don't think they do it anymore. I don't know. Maybe they do.
Don't some people get like burner phones? So some terrible services and websites and banking still uses like SMS messaging. So I know people that get a second cell phone with like a burner phone with like a little card that's not the number they give away, but you do get your SMS messaging.
Yeah, a lot of crazy banks just use SMS, which is we know is terrible for like 2FA, but
I do have burner phones, but I don't wind up using them that much because for say my banking security, I'm not really that worried.
Yeah, the bank is accountable in a way.
Well, I mean, in practice, they're not really as accountable as you might want, but like there's so little you can really do about that
Yeah,
worrying about it
it's
is a big deal.
reversible.
I think if
Yeah.
all your
Whereas
money
for things
moves,
that
the
do
bank
matter,
would stop
yeah,
it
then I'll
anyway,
use
right?
them.
Like
Yeah.
the bank generally isn't just going to let all your money move to an account in Russia without at least giving you a call or something, right? Yeah. But having said that,
You'd be surprised. You
Yeah.
would be very surprised.
What's worse is then those times that you actually need it moved, because let's say you're in another country and you lost your card or something and something just goes wrong. I had that happen with PayPal. They're like, oh, really? You want to do this transaction? Well, you need to be at home in Ontario and answer this phone. And I'm like, I can't. I'm on a little island.
Well, it's funny you say that because I do actually I bank with a few banks, but one of the banks I deliberately use a password I've memorized without any extra security, just so if I wind up in some foreign country, I'll be able to have a better chance getting money.
Cool. So yeah, just moving on. So you're all Bitcoiners. You all have that in common, but there's one thing you also have in common is that you're all Canadians. And I think that's right. I think.
Yeah.
So Canada,
Coincidence.
Canada for me is a bit of a paradox of a country because it's like I don't.
We have healthcare? No.
No, it's just like it's a country where French and British live together, and that just being from the UK, that just seems like a impossibility. But yeah, just anyway, just moving aside. Like, so what is Bitcoin like in Canada? I know like two things spring to mind. One was Andreas spoke to the Senate quite early on, so it seemed that Canada was quite kind of progressive. And then there was the Quadriga kind of thing. That
really put us on the map, not in a good way.
But do you think like Bitcoin, like, is it fair?
Unfortunately, it's mostly Ethereum and crypto in Canada now because
there is
of
a lot of Ethereum.
like the Toronto scene. There's so many startups like Aeon and Ethereum guys started there, and like all these crypto people are like infiltrating to Canada, and it kind of sucks because the message of Bitcoin kind of gets mixed in with all that.
Is that not true every country though, do you think? Or is it like a Bitcoin pure country? No.
There's certainly places with more Bitcoin stuff going on.
Yeah.
Even between, say, Toronto and Montreal. Montreal seems to have a lot more Bitcoin stuff going on.
Yeah, Montreal is way more Bitcoin centered than crypto centered. It seems like Toronto.
I feel like Alberta, a lot of Bitcoiners moved there, because, like guns. No. We're the Texas of Canada in Alberta. But no, I jest there. But I mean, you look at they have the annual, what is it, what's the rodeo that they have in Alberta all the time? It's
Calgary rodeo.
The Stampede, I think. Calgary Stampede.
Yeah, the Calgary Stampede. So there you go. Plus the the mountains, the beauty, and the taxes are a lot lower for businesses.
Are they really?
Yeah.
I was born in Calgary. Can I get some kind of preferential tax treatment?
No, you have to live there, sir.
Ah, damn it.
No, but also actually in terms of Bitcoin businesses though, and I mean this is still a problem of getting banking, right? If you're a Bitcoin business, it's challenging, and for a while, one of the only two banks that offered banking services were the ones in Alberta. And one of them was a crown corporation, so actually government.
Yeah.
Financial, yeah.
The Bull Bitcoin, half of the team is from there, right? Like Montreal and Alberta. That's kind of the center of.
Montreal and Alberta, yeah. I think it might be shifting a little bit now that institutional Bitcoin has arrived in a big way. You've got the financial center in Toronto, so you've got Canaccord that has a big team there. I mean, Fidelity exists. There's that new fund being launched by, is it CI and Galaxy? So that would probably be out of Toronto.
Is that the Cypherpunk Holdings, or is that a different one?
Out of the Toronto Stock Exchange. It's the new fund. What is Novacrut's launching?
Galaxy.
Similar to the 3IQ's fund, but slightly lower management fee.
But I think, is it Blockstream and Kraken? They're both registered in Canada, is that right? Or did I hear that wrong?
Blockstream Montreal.
Montreal,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's kind of friendly-ish for Bitcoin businesses, just the banking is hard. You have to have some sort of...
The problem is, and actually it was really fun, well, not funny, but like ironic, So, pandemic hit, and I recall some of the Bitcoin businesses trying to get loans, like government loans that are meant to help small businesses. And like 20 emails in, they're actually like, okay, the real reason we can't help you is because you're involved in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And
Ah,
so it's
brutal.
still a struggle.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm really glad to see that, you have people like Kraken coming in and Avanti launching, and others in the US are trying to get banking charters. It's just going to be a little bit more supportive.
Yeah.
Of course, it's important to remember that the irony of all this is part of why Bitcoin is useful is because banks can go and refuse, business to people for terrible reasons. If we actually had like a system where banks couldn't be doing any of that, you then have less demand for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that they're like, everything in Canada is more of a monopoly, it seems, like the airlines and the banks and phone companies. Yeah, it's all like these corporatism is really even worse in Canada than it is in the United States. So I remember hearing Austin Hill, I think it was, from Kraken, talking about how they're in 2017 they were trying to get into the Canadian banking system, and it's like a cartel. It's like literally like a monopoly.
Banks. Yeah, it's very challenging. And so when we were launching the Bitcoin fund with 3IQ, just to try to get them on the syndicate for the initial public offering, like there's a group of investment banks that launch it, and we couldn't get any traction with the big five. We ended up getting some of the investment banks like Canaccord that are really into Bitcoin. But actually, but to see this, so this year though, the new fund that's launching, it's changed. Like because CIBC led the syndicate, and there was another bank, I can't remember at the moment, another, I think it was BMO, was also on the syndicate. So just within, a few months, everything's changed ever since, the quantitative easing, the whole macro environment, and all kind of like the whole career risk has been going down between people like Michael Saylor, BlackRock coming out and talking about Bitcoin. I feel like we're getting this accelerated shift of more acceptance and towards Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And Canadian banks are just as bad as the rest of like Deutsche Bank and then JP Morgan, all these other banks for fraud too. Scotiabank was like fined like $200 million for rigging the metals market.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too different to other countries, kind of in a way. It's kind of like.
But the good thing, really cool thing was when like the 3IQ was battling the government, I was so skeptical that was going to happen, because the government, you figure they're just, because everything is so like monopolistic and corrupt at that level, you just figure they're just going to stamp it out just like they did in the United States. But 3IQ actually defeated the regulators or got,
well,
they won.
I was there, and I was actually live tweeting the court hearing, and it was just shocking watching. I don't feel like the regulator was ready.
Can you give a bit of context, I think a lot of people might not know what this court case is about.
So 3IQ, like 3 years before, was trying to get the Bitcoin fund launched.
Okay, so 3IQ is like an investment fund for Bitcoin.
So what it is, it's a closed-end fund. So there's an initial raise of capital where people want, to hold Bitcoin, like real Bitcoin, in a custodian, and that fund gets listed. But it's closed-end in the sense that it's a certain amount is raised. So then when that amount is raised and then Bitcoin is purchased, that is then what is traded. It's not like a constant like daily buy and sell depending on demand. So sometimes there's a premium, and actually has been a premium. It's gotten as high as 40% on that fund, depending on what the demand for Bitcoin is like. But that's very similar to Grayscale, where they tend to have big premiums, and even like some excessive ones for Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash, which I saw hit something like 1,000%. It just seems like so many things that can go wrong. But before they could get listed,
can I jump in for 1 sec, Max?
Yeah.
So for people that are listening that don't know what these closed-end funds and stuff are, it's basically like if you want to put your tax-free savings account or registered retirement savings account, or in the United States, the equivalent of a 401k or a Roth IRA, it's your tax beneficial registered account. If you can put that usually in funds or bonds or whatever. Most regular people don't even use them. but people in Canada get this same treatment with the TFSA and the RRSP, and there was no way for Canadians to get exposure to the price appreciation of Bitcoin through the registered funds that the government gives us. And that's what 3IQ was trying to do. They were trying to make a ticker that you could just buy in your tax-free savings account and get a 100x on Bitcoin tax-free.
So you don't have to pay capital gains, pretty much.
No, so there's a limit. What is it now, like 70,000 or something?
Yeah, every person gets something like 6,500 a year, and it's about 7, 8, 9 years old now. So every year you get to stack more.
But they were fighting the regulators or the government.
So the regulator came out and said it's not in the public interest for people to hold Bitcoin. So they were actually
not in their interest.
Yeah.
So they were actually making a ruling, and what was actually, like on what people can and can't invest in, which isn't really their job. It's more, to protect the integrity of markets and to protect.
You can buy Bre-X, but you can't buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You can lose 95%.
You're saying that they won in the end, right? So I think the fund is.
They did. So what was actually really funny was during this ruling, like some of the actual Ontario Securities Commission folks actually did hold Bitcoin.
Yeah. I think that's probably the.
Awesome.
That was awesome.
The regulators thought, wait a minute, I have Bitcoin. I don't want to pay tax on this.
The key point was to take this and argue for why it's in the public interest. And I mean, in some ways, Quadriga helped because, when it went down, it's like, what safe alternatives are there? Like, if you can hold it with a qualified institutional grade custodian, in some ways that's safer than using Quadriga or some other fly-by-night, Asian exchange that kind of closed up shop. So the key part about taking it to court was that they could then argue, and the ruling, was something like a 27-page ruling that said basically, the OSC, the Securities Commission, cannot, determine what, is a safe or not safe investment, and so that's really paved the way. So in some ways, it's a competitive advantage for them to be first, but a competitive disadvantage in that they spent a lot of legal funds fighting the Securities Commission to advocate on behalf of consumers to be able to hold this, Bitcoin in these accounts, but now other players can come in a lot easier because that ruling applies to anyone. But I think it's just, honestly, it's just in the public interest to be able to have that, right?
And now there's 14,000 Bitcoins under management by 3IQ in the last 12 months or so. So they got like 400 million or so.
Yeah.
They're doing good. Canadians are stacking in their registered accounts. But it's not real Bitcoin, right? I mean, it's just like price exposure to Bitcoin. So you got to factor that into your security model and your, preferential Bitcoin acquisition strategy.
Yeah, the nice thing.
You want to have only paper Bitcoins.
Yeah. Ideally, what would, best case scenario is to cut out more intermediaries, because it's like a fund that's then using an institutional grade custodian. But it'd be even better if I could just send my use an institutional grade custodian, in these qualified registered or tax-free savings account. And the best case scenario is you just hold it on your own. I think you can in the US. I think CoinShares or someone figured out a way to do that, but we're not there yet. And I feel like things like tax treatment, you have to talk to different government regulatory bodies to kind of get to that point.
It feels like there's got to be a multi-sig way that would fit under some law,
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I guess, and in a way, that would be in the interest of the consumer if that's what they're concerned about, protecting people, right? Do
you guys have? Do you have something like that where you're living at, Christian?
I'm not actually sure because I've been living abroad, and I'm from the UK, but I left the UK when I was pretty much like a child, and I've been living mainly in Australia and Japan, and then I've come back to the UK like this year, so I have no idea what's going on. I live in Bitcoin crypto online world most of the time,
right?
But I don't have any Bitcoin anyway because I lost it all in a boating accident. So
right.
No, yours was a car racing accident.
That was it.
Yeah, a tragic karting accident.
Admittedly, I don't really pay too much attention to trying to get another 10% on taxes. Like, Bitcoin's gone so much up, who cares?
I did it in Japan. I did have to pay 40% on Bitcoin tax once. Yeah, I had to liquidate for some emergency, and it's like 40%. Wow.
Yeah, and you get hit with.
Yeah.
Well, for people that are curious, the tax rate here, the way the taxes works on cashing out Bitcoin is it's kind of arbitrary, and the government can reassess you and audit you and then decide based on your activity level if you're actually deserving of capital gains or if you're considered income, so which is kind of scary.
Yeah,
So what?
if you're a day trader, they might consider that income.
Yeah.
Versus
So you want to like not trade
Yeah, okay.
in Canada, and a lot of people don't get this until they get their they start to look into it and they realize, oh, every time I trade one crypto for a stable coin or Bitcoin for wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum or something like that, I have to claim my cost
That's where they
basis.
get you.
impossible
Yeah,
to do
every
that.
little
It's crazy.
transaction.
I remember going to the Japanese tax office and they had this rule also, and Pepe Cash was actually an approved currency in Japan because an exchange listed it. And I was going to the lady there. I was like, "Yeah, so how do I declare my Pepe Cash?" And she didn't know what Bitcoin was. They explained what Pepe Cash was. It's like crazy rules. Anyway, just moving on from that. That's fascinating, I think. You know, and it's it's kind of interesting how these rules differ.
Good advice for any Canadians that are watching though is just buy and hold Bitcoin for as long as you can and don't trade, and like just try to secure that capital gains treatment so that you're not going to be reassessed as an active trader and have to pay 55%
trading on the exchange
tax
is
on it.
always risky because the tax office can always see what you've been up to or get that.
At least in the US, like
Unless
in the
you
US,
know what you're
they've
doing.
got, there's short-term capital gains versus long-term capital gains. It's clearly defined. So even if, you can decide I'm going to trade or I'm not going to trade, and then I know what my tax rate's going to be here. It's just always this risk of this.
Yeah, it does feel a little subjective.
Yeah. Hopefully we get clarification on that in the next 5 years.
10 years. Jeez.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to change gears a second, and I think
I'm not going to let you. We're going to go back to taxes.
Should I just do my tax return now? I think I have to do my tax return. So whilst you're all here, how do I get a Canadian? Do I get a Canadian passport being British? Can I move to Alberta? Does it work like that? I think the Queen is your Queen, right? It's Commonwealth.
We do share a queen.
Well,
You know what's crazy? In Australia, they get the Queen's birthday off. Do you get that in Canada? The Queen's birthday is a national holiday?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe
Victoria
not.
Day. Isn't that Victoria Day?
Well, no, it's like the current Queen. It's her birthday is a day off. It's
we don't have
a
that.
national day. It's a national holiday in Australia, but not in Britain.
That's crazy.
I know, yeah.
well, you got to give people a day off to go and do their protests against this ridiculous form of government they have.
I think that most people have barbecues in England. I think sorry, in Australia they have a barbecue maybe. But yeah, proof marshals. So this is something which I think it might have some applications to gaming. So we have like our audience has a lot of Bitcoin gamers, but proof marshals I know is something that you've been working on for a while, Peter. And I think before I jump into that, I think what a lot of people might not know is I think you were quite instrumental into the existence of the Lightning Network, because is it BIP 65 or that's used in Lightning contracts, like check lock time verify?
Yeah,
I think that was one of yours.
It's one of I forget exactly like what it's being used for right now, but essentially it's one of two BIPs that let you prevent coins from being spent until time in the future. Yeah. And my one was the first one that kind of came out. It's a much simpler one.
A relative
second one was the complex one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll just say so. Like the difference is the one I did was it lets a transaction output be unspendable until a point in time in the future. Mm-hmm. And then the second one is it lets a transaction output be unspendable until a point in time after it was created.
Got you.
So it's like relative time versus absolute.
Relative time, yeah.
The relative one is the complex one. That's where all the tech work went into. But like the interesting thing about Bitcoin protocol changes is it's a real sort of political side to it. And my change was like, literally, what is it, 6 lines of code. However many more lines of like tests. However many more lines of like written material on it, arguing for it. It's just one of those things where it's so lopsided, the amount of effort in the coding versus effort in getting everyone on board and showing that this will actually work and showing that the process will work and so on. So that then, of course, led the way to then further upgrades.
Yeah. No, it's cool. So, so proof marshal. So I heard this has something to do, single-use seals and maybe something to do with the RGB protocol, which some of our listeners might be interested in. But could you just kind of give a layman's, if it's possible, a layman's explanation of what proof marshals are?
So maybe I'll start the general philosophy, which is you look at something like, say, Ethereum, or even for that matter, my own check lock time verify. Mm-hmm. And the idea there is, we have some logic and we put the logic into the chain
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that, Bitcoin nodes will actually execute at least some of the rules that make it all happen.
Sure.
And where proof marshal kind of came out of is the idea of, what I was kind of calling embedded consensus way back when. And long story short, it's really saying, well, all right, how about we put all the logic outside the chain? What is the absolute bare minimum of cryptography we actually need to be public and kind of on the chain? And I think you can boil, for at least many types of protocols, you can boil this down to the notion of a single-use seal. And the analogy I like to give is like one of those numbered seals on, say, a shipping container. If I go close that seal over the latch at one end, and I go tell you what the number should be, at the other end, you can verify the number and say, oh yeah, that's definitely the thing I closed it over, because there's only one number of that seal in the entire world, and there only ever will be. Obviously that analogy breaks down slightly, but cryptographically, it's kind of similar in the sense that it lets something happen exactly once. Okay. And that's sort of the definition of consensus. You have a thing that can happen, and it can only happen once in a particular way. And if you can make that bit of crypto work, well, then you can build things on top of it. Like say, well, if I have a seal, I could then close it over another seal, and then that seal could close over another seal, and suddenly you have a chain. Or, potentially you make that chain represent, say, a unit of currency or something. There's lots of ways to kind of work with this. But what's interesting about it is because the underlying protocol that you implement these seals on doesn't need to know what's happening, you can build anything you want on something as simple as Bitcoin without cooperation.
So I was going to say, is it fair to say then the seal on the container is what's like in the Bitcoin blockchain, but the stuff inside the container, that can happen on another chain, that can happen elsewhere, that doesn't need to be recorded?
Exactly.
Is that okay?
That's exactly it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in the physical world, you can't do this, but in this magical crypto world...
So to compare to something
it's a hash, basically. Like, all your actual data can be outside. It doesn't actually need to be on the chain.
So like something like Ethereum at the moment would have like everything in the container, everything would be on the chain, right? So if you have a program or a software or something complicated, it would all have to be on the chain, and all the nodes would have to verify that. But you're saying with proof marshals, we don't really care about that stuff being on the chain. We just want this kind of proof, like the seal at the end, which is
and in fact you can actually do better than that, which is you can go make a chain that is sealed by things that are actually on Bitcoin. And then all the data related to all these other seals isn't actually on Bitcoin. And that gets you scaling. Long story short is, with proof marshal, you can do as many transactions per second as you want, with the catch being that, well, you have to trust the people running these sort of secondary chains with regard to censorship. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what, like, Republic, if you're looking at these Ethereum things, like everybody is trusting all these companies building on DeFi and stuff. They're just peddling this like fake narrative that it's decentralized and everything, but really they're trusting. The trust model is you got to trust Republic. They got the keys.
And the idea with proof marshal is really say, well, why don't we just go make this trade-off and accept that it's there in exchange for much better scalability and also a lot more reliability. Because, if my application written with the proof marshal library breaks, it doesn't matter to you. None of the logic is affecting Bitcoin. It's just some extra transaction outputs that you don't even know what they do. It's similar to my earlier, and still ongoing for that matter, timestamping project, Open Timestamps. Again, it timestamps data, but all that data and all the Merkle trees to make that all possible, that's entirely off Bitcoin. From Bitcoin's point of view, it's just a couple transaction outputs.
To kind of give a bit of context, so like I've been trying to do Bitcoin and gaming since like 2013, and I kind of saw very often like this stuff doesn't really scale, but like now we kind of take it off of Bitcoin and do a lot of stuff on the Lightning network. However, there are a lot of people who want to kind of, they want to put like games on the blockchain, all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
At the moment, there's one game, Satoshi's games, Light Night. They're kind of experimenting with NFTs and skins, which, there's a whole kind of other side of that, but just speaking.
I want to see more female skins on that.
But just technically, they're kind of. I think they're doing their skins on Liquid, like a side-chain, pretty much.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
would Proof Marshal in a way kind of let you link a kind of say like some sort of gaming sidechain which could do whatever it wants and with regards to NFTs or tokens or whatever or gameplay, but then you could tie it back into Bitcoin for like more security or I don't know.
Well, I mean, let's look at a concrete example. Suppose you're running a multi-person MMORG whatever thing, and you have an in-game currency.
Yeah.
Once the currency starts to become a bit more valuable, you might want to be able to go and prove, hey,
Yeah.
this is the total supply of the currency. This is, the ownership transfers are valid. We're not playing any funny games here, and so on. That might be something you want to prove. And for that matter, that might be something you want to prove to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Often, after all, you want to have a good enough auditing so that people within the company can know it's all being legit.
Sure.
Even if they don't care if the rest of the world can audit it.
Sure.
Sorry, do you mean like internally you want to prove it to yourself, or as a client or like a gamer you want to prove it to yourself?
Well, my point is, so internally you often want to, purely because at a company you don't want your database admins to be able to steal money.
Okay.
And where Proof Marshal comes in is it being a library to then let you build these kinds of abstractions. It would let you go take that essentially, database of who owns what, and link it back to Bitcoin in such a way that it's impossible to modify that database without it being visible.
So you would be able to compare it to like some sort of timestamp or some sort of proof that was added to the Bitcoin chain, and we could get, hey, wait a minute, something's funny going on in this chain because this Proof Marshal that was on the Bitcoin chain doesn't match anymore. It's
exactly, yeah. Because remember, all the data that we're kind of proving, that's not on Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
But you can run, you can process that data and go through it and say, hang on, I know this should go back to these Bitcoin transaction outputs. But as an example, well, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
And then you know immediately, hang on, something went wrong there. Let's figure out,
so anyway,
why there's this inconsistency.
Like a second or a side chain or a project. I guess it could be a database as well, I suppose. In a way, it could be a public mechanism for people to keep them honest, because they would...
Well, let me go point out. So the key, like Proof Marshal and Liquid compete with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least they will once Proof Marshal's a bit further along. But the key difference is Liquid, just like Bitcoin, all the data is in one place. You can run a Liquid node, but it fundamentally doesn't scale.
Sure.
Whereas either Proof Marshal is, if I don't care about your database, I don't need that data. So it just doesn't matter to me. Whereas if you do care, you do have that data. And then the tricky bit is, well, what if I only want some of it? Like, what if I want to verify that my balance is correct, but I don't really care if someone else is getting ripped off? You can then look at the subset of that data that just adds up to essentially those numbers and verify those numbers are correct.
Sounds like
That
something
sounds
to do
pretty
with
cool.
Merkle trees.
But Peter, I don't get how it can work though without its own ICO and token.
Well, that's a major challenge. It's an economic challenge, though, not a technical one.
Yeah, I was kidding. Obviously, everything doesn't need a token and an ICO, but we probably need to raise some money.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Tether's been, funding it, because after all, it could be yet another way to go and move Tether around. So, that's essentially useful.
Would you see it being would you use the Elements language or something to build this out, or would you be building out a whole new framework for a sidechain?
I certainly could use Elements scripting stuff. The more likely Blockstream's Singularity language.
So Elements is like the kind of the Liquid SDK almost, I think.
Yeah,
it's like what people can use to make Liquid style chains.
Yeah,
I think CoinShares used it to make their eGold or whatever it was, the gold coin or something.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how all this kind of these side chains and these, how it evolves in a way once people realize Ethereum doesn't scale.
I want to go back to you though, Christian. So when it comes to gaming and Bitcoin application, so the ones that I can think of is, okay, so in-game prizes, right? Here at the racing that we're going to do, you can collect sats because there's little coins that you pick them up individually, and you can take them out to the physical world, as in your own wallet, hardware wallet. But I mean, so then there's advertising. People pay in game to post something of theirs. Light Night and Bitcoin. So Bitcoin Bounty Hunt, you can kill people and steal their stats that they collect.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a cool feature. I don't know what Light Night does. Is there, what else is there in gaming? Like I don't want the world of gaming to be just advertising, you know? And I mean, yeah, sure, prizes are great, but that's nothing innovative. Like, what do you see that could be cool?
Well, maybe we kind of switch the conversation to be a bit more gaming, and I like to hear, like, you know, if any of you are gamers. I guess you probably played at least one game. I don't know. At the moment, my philosophy at the moment is that, you know, in a way, keep it simple at the moment, because like just games in a way had like cash prizes for thousands of years. You would play cards or chess, and it was kind of just added a bit of spice to the game. So at the moment, I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit where people can just like you know, deposit a few stats, play a game, earn some stats, etc. Yeah, but then again, gaming is such like a, you know, it's like the reason I became a game dev is because you can kind of create a universe, right? And you can play with the rules of physics. You can, you know, it's very, very creative. So I guess it's endless to what people will do. I'm not sure at the moment. I quite like, I'm actually working on a project which is, we can kind of get like, in some AAA games, you could get a bot to play for you. Like, the bot would play for you, and then the bot would
you pay your bot?
earn you sats. Like, it came about like, how do we stop bots playing these games, right? You know, we want humans to play, but then, well, why discriminate against bots? You know, so I don't know. I think there's a lot of stuff with tokens and DeFi, and I think it's all quite complicated, and what will work, and what won't. But we're going to see something new maybe that people haven't thought about, but
I almost feel like what is it, Cyber 2077?
Yes,
been like
the new game.
Perfect game to incorporate Bitcoin into it in some way. Like, you can use it in that world. Like, you can bring your stats over.
Yeah. Well, you know, if they want to do that, they know who to talk to.
There you go.
But
Well, you know what you're saying about bots also reminds me of. I recently learned, like, apparently on Minecraft, there's this notion of anarchy servers, where it's basically there's just no rules, do whatever you want. And suddenly the game changes dramatically because people start using start using computer programs to go and play the game in all kinds of different ways.
Yeah, you put Bitcoin into that game and see how it goes. You know?
I mean, my understanding is there's some Minecraft servers where they've experimented with payments in Bitcoin in certain ways, and it just strikes me as, you know, I think what a lot of this will do is just open up new types of gameplay style and development that are really hard to predict in advance.
So we've kind of seen it a little bit at the moment. So I kind of like your point that I think there's going to be different servers. There's going to be servers which are going to be more noob friendly. Maybe everybody wins some Bitcoin. It's kind of sponsor funded. Then there's going to be like ones where like all the cheaters play. Right? Everybody's like hacking their computers. But yeah, I think like we put Bitcoin into our racing game, and there's coins on the track. It's Mario Kart, but the coins are Bitcoin, basically how it works. And some people decided not to try and finish the race and would just drive around the wrong way getting the coins, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like
funny.
strange incentive changing, right? And but I don't know. I think just put it out there and see what people come up with. People are going to use your program the wrong way, no matter how you... Like, in a way, that kind of happened with Bitcoin, right? When Bitcoin came out, the first thing I did was try to spam it with my monkey game. So it's going to be interesting to see. But are any of you...
That's Saratobi?
Yeah, it's 2013, and
You made Saratobi?
Yeah.
Monkey past a certain
Oh, nice.
It's actually come out again.
Saratobi.
Oh, it's back out again in testing, but on Lightning actually at the moment. So but that was a game I made in 2013. I did it all on
you
chain.
integrated the Satoshi card from Rare Pepe, right?
Yeah,
Into the
that was
game?
Spells of Genesis.
The Spells of Genesis.
So for the viewers, there was a protocol before Ethereum called Counterparty. I think you were a consultant on that, Peter. I remember seeing your name on something.
I did some auditing for that.
Auditing, that was it. Sorry,
or something.
It was like I think it was an honest project because they didn't do an ICO to launch it. They did like a proof of burn, which means that none of the founders got rich off it, kind of thing. But ultimately, it was kind of an on-chain thing, and it had scaling issues. So as well as my game did. So I brought my game back on Lightning for the kind of Bitcoin side. But a lot of people are looking for like, is there like a more scalable solution to do kind of game items, as it were?
Well, a point I would make is a lot of the games you kind of talk about are a client-server model.
Mhm.
Whereas there may be models of games or things sort of like games
Sorry, my
that
cat's jumped.
operate purely decentralized.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hunter Coin, do you know that one maybe?
I haven't heard of that one.
It was an old
Huck.
one.
Yeah, I played that.
It was basically, I think they're, do you know the South Park episode where they played World of Warcraft and there was like this
Yeah.
really, really strong player who was killing everybody and they couldn't stop it because they didn't have control of the server? They wanted to do something similar like that, basically, because the game was decentralized, even the game devs couldn't stop players or
Yeah.
something, and it was like a Wild West type, but every move I think was on the blockchain. It was quite ambitious, and I think they had their own blockchain to do that, obviously.
Yeah, they made an altcoin in their own blockchain.
Yeah.
The creator that died, unfortunately.
Did he? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Sad, because that's...
yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. But yeah, but maybe that's
Yeah,
what...
he was a young guy. He had a business partner. The business partner tried to keep it going, but I don't. I think the game just died with the 2015 altcoin bubble.
Oh, okay. But
There
It'd be
was a
cool. It would be
2015 altcoin bubble?
well, the 2014, like 13, 14 went like this,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, okay.
Died in 2015. Yeah, I remember playing that game thinking like these guys are onto something pretty cool here. I wish they'd use Bitcoin, but
I think a lot of...
I-
Yeah.
There's serious technical challenges. It's
But I mean,
one of
like,
the
look at
reasons.
Fortnite, what is it, V-Bucks or something like that? Like
Yeah.
Fortnite has its own currency. Linden dollars had like, and virtual property was, worth some real money there.
But remember, in those examples, what's the actual technology behind that? It's just some database.
It's
Same
not,
as
it wasn't a blockchain though.
I mean,
You know-
it wouldn't be a very auditable period. It'd be the same database as the rest of their game data.
that guy, the creator of Second Life, Philip Rosedale, tried to create another virtual world game with a cryptocurrency called High Fidelity, and I was trying to convince him to use Lightning Network or to use a sidechain of Bitcoin or something. We were chatting back and forth. I was like in the worlds with them, testing it out. I had a wallet going and stuff, but they ended up partnering with EOS.
Doing ICO?
And they didn't do an ICO,
didn't?
but they
Okay,
partnered
that's-
with EOS. They raised some money from Galaxy, and because Galaxy was huge into EOS, so they
Yeah.
were like bag holders of EOS and invested in Block One and all that. And they ended up getting wrecked, and
Oh boy.
they gave up on the idea. So they had challenges trying to finish the game in a way that people would natively get digital money.
Yeah.
I think it was both too early for virtual world version of Second Life, and also they were using a token that just kept going down in value continually.
Yeah.
That's...
I can see people getting excited about like winning Satoshis. It's like the new faucets these days, right?
Yeah.
Like, these Lightning games. Like, I won some Bitcoin.
Yeah, like...
But that guy, Philip Rosedale, was also on a podcast with, I think, Laura Shin with the guys from MakerDie a couple of years ago, and they were just debating like stable coins versus virtual game currencies, and it's just not on their radar to think about using Bitcoin. These guys have such a misconception about what Bitcoin is. They think they swallow that like narrative from crypto VCs and Silicon Valley VCs.
None of them have probably heard.
Counterparty.
They've never heard of the Lightning Network, I think, for one thing. So speaking to some of the like larger game companies, like they had no idea that the Lightning Network exists or even that's a thing, right?
Yeah.
They just kind of think it's like Bitcoin. Okay, that's like the slow stable one, and everything else is like Ethereum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
what's interesting
we're
is, like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'd point out, like, a lot of people think the Lightning Network not so much doesn't exist, but has failed. Because you do, on the likes of like Hacker News and stuff, you do see a lot of people falsely claiming that, Lightning is vaporware or that it's, been tried and failed, etc. Because of course they just want to bash Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But that misinformation seems to get out further.
Well, like we did at the last Mint Got, which is our monthly esports. I think in 2 hours we did over 10,000 transactions on the Lightning Network. So it's like,
that's epic.
But the thing is, like,
awesome.
the way I kind of see it is that, so I was in this space in 2013 making games, and I kind of saw the scaling issue. But a lot of companies, they've got this product, and like Bitcoin, it stopped working because of Bitcoin or Counterpoint doesn't work. And in a way, Ethereum was like the only option for them to kind of unless they want to like fire all their staff or anything, right? You know, they can't wait for the Lightning Network or tokens that are scalable to come about. So, and then I think all the gaming community kind of went over there, and they haven't come back yet. But I think now that we have the Lightning Network, we're starting to see some more interest in it.
How do we get the VCs to want to support Bitcoin, promoting Bitcoin? Because the incentive is there for all these early crypto VC guys that are raising $100 million funds to want to put tokens and to want to dump tokens on retail. So how do we convince these VCs to stop pushing this false narrative that Bitcoin is not upgrading and not scaling and can't scale and all this stuff, and get them to invest in?
You know, Electric Capital came out with this really long report today, and it looks at the different ecosystems, including Bitcoin and ETH. And so Bitcoin and Ethereum are the highest growth, like in terms of monthly active developers since 2017. Like, you can look at the statistics, and we were talking about EOS before. It's been losing a lot of developers towards, you know, like the old ones, like whatever, 200. If you look at the CoinMarketCap list, you know, they're losing developers, and they're all moving towards things like DeFi, sure, but Bitcoin as well. And so I think getting this kind of data is very important, whether it's like to regulators, so we can say, hey, look, it's a high growth industry. We're really, you know, develop the number of employees is one way to measure that. Or just to, you know, to VCs. I think the more metrics that we have and data points that we can use to explain that story, the better.
Yeah, all I can say is that, like, it's kind of my job as a Bitcoin game developer and to make that happen. But we do have some exciting stuff coming that I can't speak about, but hopefully at the next Mint Gox we're going to do a nice reveal about something. I think that it's going to be pretty popular, and it's like very simple. It integrates Bitcoin into a very, very popular game that people play now without Bitcoin. So I think once people start to see it in action, I think that's the thing.
It's an announcement of an announcement.
I'm quite frustrated, but I got told off for hinting at it. But there's no token or no ICO. I don't want to hype it up or anything.
It's going to be great. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah. Anyway, we should. I think it's about time to get onto the lightning lap. So, just for the audience, Peter is like a proper Bitcoin developer, so he doesn't have a computer that's capable of playing a simple Mario Kart game. So he gets a Linux score or something. But Peter's just going to be like
0.
So we're going to have Brad and Crypto Mags are going to do a lap. So how it works is we have a Bitcoin kind of Mario Kart style game that if you want to play it yourself, you can play it at the next Mint Gox. But they will both do a lap each around the track. They can actually collect some Bitcoins as they race around and withdraw those Bitcoins at the end. But what we'll be doing is we'll be recording their fastest lap time, and that will go on a leaderboard. And we're going to have some...
We're going to represent Canada.
You're going to represent Canada. We're going to do this with a lot more Bitcoiners going forward. So I think we've got Nicolas Dorier signed up. He's going to do a lap. So hopefully it's going to be some competition.
We're coming for you.
Yeah, Stefan Levera said yes as well, so we can get him on. We'd like to get some other podcasters. But yeah, it's very similar to a show called Top Gear, which did a similar thing. If people... know that show, starring an affordably priced car. But yeah, it's a bit of competition, and people can bash each other on Twitter. But this is the first time, so there's no real score to beat. However, having said that, I did get my note.
Well, there is mine. I'm getting 0. So
maybe we'll get you on another time if we meet in person. I'll bring my laptop. But let me see. Can you hold on? There we go.
So I need to launch the game, right?
Yes, you launched the game, but we have I got my no coiner Ned friend. He's a friend of mine who's a no coiner. Just do a lap time, so it's something to aim at. So 76
Did he
points.
end up withdrawing the sats? Is he still a no coiner?
I doubt it. No, I don't think he did withdraw the sats because he didn't have a Lightning wallet. Anyway, I did it quickly before this event because I think we weren't sure that other people could get the game working. So that's the score to beat. I'm just going to... I just need to move the Google Hangouts for the stream so we can...
Connecting to server.
Yeah, so I think I think Peter and Brad might not be able to see the lap. If you want to see the lap, you can watch the live stream, which is on. It's on at minkgox.com.
I'm not playing right now, am I?
You're not playing. Mags is going to do it first, but the audience will be able to see the live stream.
Good, because it's
Can
screwing
we
up.
race each other, or is it that we have to do it separately?
This is separately at the moment. It's a lap time, yeah. It's not a race.
Oh, I see the lap time. Okay.
Okay.
I might have to
I think, Todd, you need to regale the audience in the interim. Like, do you know some, great songs you could give us?
You do not want to hear me sing. I'll say that much.
My cat is going on the keyboard again.
Oh, it's Garfield.
Okay, so I think the audience should be able to see the game. And I just need to put the sound on.
Am I doing the online one?
Yeah, you're going to do the online one. So yeah, I just need to set up here. I need to... And do you remember the password, Mags, was the new password, which was the
do.
simple password.
It's I love Satoshis.
Thank you very much. Host the game. So this is called...
Oh, while we wait, what is your thoughts about the bits versus Satoshis, guys?
Can I go and just say Bitcoins? Because I've never wrapped my head around either of them.
So, question: you just said Bitcoins? Is it Bitcoin or Bitcoins?
Depends on how many you have.
Capital B space capital C. That's how he's saying it. Bitcoins.
Cool. Oh.
No, because some people say like
That's the old school way.
I own Bitcoin, but they don't say I own Bitcoins. Oh crap! I'm trying to remember this password here. Hold on.
It's 4-letter word.
I think the plural version of fractional Bitcoin would be Bitcoins, even still.
Yeah. Well, it sounds right to say like I own, 0.5 Bitcoins.
Yeah, I like that.
But when we do the Mint Gox event, it's cool to say that you've won a million sats. Has a nice
Yeah.
ring to it, but so
Can you set me the password?
100,000
again?
bits.
I will. Oh, I'm trying to. It's a 4-letter word beginning with T.
Oh, that one! Oh, yeah. Okay. For letter word.
In comes 10,000 requests to go and log on.
Okay, here we are. I think she's in. So this is the audience. Just checking the sound is okay. Okay. Yeah, so you won't be able to see the time. I will be able to see the time, and then I'll make a note of it, and then Brad will do his lap time, and then we'll do a reveal at the end.
Well, let's hope I can do my lap time. My computer all of a sudden decided to want to restart.
Okay, we're starting. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. No, I just wanted to see the. I put it on a computer, not a computer, on my phone.
Got ya.
Here we go, Schmancy. I'm ready. I'm just gonna pick up the sats.
He's gonna run around the track picking up sats.
I'm gonna ride around the track, be like, screw the time. I can get. Hey, is there like some prize or something? Like, am I competing?
But you have to start. You're not
Where
starting.
am I going?
Forward. There we go.
Uh-oh. I wasn't on the screen.
You've got 3
God,
laps.
Start, Meg.
You've got 3 laps to do. So the first lap is always going to be your slowest because
I'm
you start
fleeting.
from a 0.
Say cheese, everyone. I'm fleeting.
You're fleeting.
Okay. Well, a bit of a
I'm
jump
on
there.
fleet.
Yeah.
You're on fleet.
Oh, you hit the wall a little bit. You slow down. Not off to a good
I
start.
know.
Well, you got a coin. Okay.
I don't know how to do the banking turns. I'm sure there's like some magical secret way to like bank, but
You
I'm
can.
used to the wizard. The wizard is a little bit better, so they have the magical internet wizard. Brad, you should definitely try playing this game using the
will.
wizard character.
You know, I'm rebranding. I'm not the wizard anymore.
For people
Well,
who
you
may
are.
not be
You're branding that.
familiar with the game, so this is a Mario Kart game that we use to do esports tournaments and Mint Goxes. So we have like a multiplayer mode where people can join on, and you can collect bitcoins, which are the coins. They're worth about 10 sats. Those sats you can throw at other people like a bullet to kind of knock them off, or you can keep them until the end and withdraw. We also have like Bitcoin prizes for people who come first, and the audience can even pay sats to drop power-ups for users. And this is all, I should say, a lot of this Bitcoin is provided by our sponsor Bitrefill. a big thanks to them. So yeah, if you want to check it out, you can join us for the next Mid-Gox.
I'm having
Oh,
issues.
This track doesn't have that secret like passage. There's oh no!
Oh,
Down.
yeah.
There's another level you can kind of use a little bit of a shortcut. I don't recall any shortcuts on this one.
Oh, I tried to get rid of some of the shortcuts. We had like ultra shortcuts, they call them, where
Yeah. Wait, did this level have the shortcut? I'm trying to remember now.
not that I know of.
There was one right at the end. I thought it was this track. You shortened it because there was a way you could cut across through the pylons.
You didn't
Was it
tell me this,
track?
so maybe it was
Yeah,
just...
'cause nobody wants to say that. Like, you could, but you could tell all the people were using it. The guys that were first, they were
Okay.
just cutting through.
Okay, well now there's some... I've made an update so that there's like some cheat detection now, that if you do that it'll tell you what...
Oh, okay. I don't see any shortcut anymore. So, oh. Yeah, I need
Okay,
to
you've
work on
got
those.
almost finishing your second lap. After that you've got one more lap, so make the last
Okay.
one that counts.
Basically, he just said I was terrible.
You're competing against No Coin and Ned. His name's not actually Ned, so I'll tell you that much, but here's
I
a
hope
no...
it was his first time, so it can be like a true slaughter.
Somebody's...
Bitcoiner slaughters the
Yeah.
no coiner.
On this track, there is a player who actually, I think they got like something crazy, like 40 seconds or something.
What?
But
Oh, okay, I want to know relative to that. Ah!
a good time is, I think, anything under 60.
Okay, I'm gonna try to get under 60. That's silly. I don't know. Is there a magic to turning? Is there like a button that
It's
helps
called
you turn?
racing lines. Where you basically, you want to kind of go wide and then cut in, so...
That was not it.
Okay, half lap left, so... It's not too bad though. Considering
Can you
you're
see the
talking as
time?
well. I will be able to see the time in a second. But yeah,
I'm taking those curves tight. Okay. Ah, no! Okay, last one. Oh no, it's finished.
it's finished,
Woo!
so
I'm gonna get some
you should be
stats.
able to withdraw. I'm going to just...
Hold on, I'm not. I know this. People are gonna steal my stats, so I'm gonna get my wallet ready here.
Jeez,
No.
you're too good at the game.
They won't be able to see that. Only you can
Oh,
see
they
the
won't.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Boom! I got 130 stats.
Okay, I got your time down as well, and I'm not going to say anything.
Nice.
Okay, so let's try Brad. Hopefully Brad's had a bit of issues with keyboard before, so...
I'm having issues now with it won't open because my computer keeps saying virus and threat protection, security scan required, and I'm trying to deal with that.
That's because Peter Todd is trying
Okay.
to hack you right now.
Didn't say this last when we were doing all
yeah,
the
it's cool.
planning.
That's...
0 threats found. It just won't stop spamming me with virus and threat protection.
Brad, what sites have you been going on?
Some really sketchy ones about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bitcoin Cash. Where did he go? Is it bitcoin.com?
Yeah.
This one you can't play on your phone yet, right? Is that
Close.
No, I was thinking about making a mobile build, but I have to work out how the controls work. But maybe that's
Yeah.
more accessible. The thing is, like, it would only be Android only because it has Bitcoin in it, and then we'd have to do it through like F-Droid or something. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like it's opening now.
I do have a
Yeah.
Bitcoin game on iOS, so actually it could be okay because iOS they let you kind of get Bitcoin, but you can't pay for things with Bitcoin. So maybe this game would be okay because it only rewards you. But Apple have some strange rules where the game has to be like the rewards have to be random.
It won't turn
random?
off
Oh,
music.
or like
You won't turn off the music. It's okay. The music's fine. As long as it opens.
can you like?
Turned it down.
So in some stores, I don't know if it's Apple or Android, where you can do some sort of like raffle is okay on one but not the other.
Basically, Apple have a rule that you can't do cash for tasks, so you can't have like, you know, complete this survey and get some Bitcoin. It has to have like a random element, so maybe that's okay, but yeah.
Okay, because Andrew's always
So-
like, hey, do this survey, get some money.
So they're okay with gambling, but not work.
Well, it's not gambling if you don't pay, right? You're not allowed to pay in a way. So, like,
Is there gambling?
no, I don't think gambling's
It
not
still
allowed.
feels like gambling. Come on.
Like, you can't. So with Apple, if you play the game, and the game will randomly give you like a Bitcoin tip, no strings attached. It's random. It's not guaranteed. That's okay. But like paying, you know, an in-app purchase to get Bitcoin or to enter a competition would not be allowed. Anyway. I would've-
Okay,
Are
I'm
you ready,
Oh, you're in
sir?
there? Good. So just join the game. The password is the 4-letter
Yeah.
The
one.
4-letter word.
Okay. Can you beat Mag's time? Well, I think seeing as you haven't played this game since until.
Oh, I can spend points to make myself faster.
Yeah.
Okay. What?
I told you that, Max. You can adjust.
Oh,
I could have spent my
yeah.
money.
No, you basically can customize your car up to about 6 points.
Nice. Give me
How did I
that.
miss this? Oh,
Give me that
no.
grip. Give me that acceleration and that speed. I'm ready to go.
What do you do?
Yeah, but you're better than me at this game, so I'm probably gonna get smashed.
Open it up
to it.
again and take a look. I missed it.
We can do another one maybe if weren't aware of that, Max. I might. But
No,
I actually
No.
wasn't. Hold on. How did I miss
Free
that?
market
I might
network.
have heard
let's start. Or we can do.
I mean, I'll be the rude one and say, you know, I'm not sure extra speed would have helped you with that steering.
You can increase handling though.
wait till you see me then.
Okay, here we go.
I couldn't make it around a straightaway without crashing into the walls. All right, it's booting up. Do you have it?
You should
Am I
be.
good?
Your cart should be visible now, so you can just press forward.
3, 2, 1,
Go.
go! I'm moving. Woo! The game works.
Do you have a Lightning wallet on you that you can withdraw?
Not that I've restored,
Okay. Well, no worries.
or someone else can take my sats. Oh crap!
Yeah, not really. Well,
Watch you.
you would have to
Oh,
share
no,
your
I'm stuck.
screen to do that. So
Oh, I'm stuck again.
the first
I
lap
keep
is.
missing all the sats.
I want to watch.
The
where you
first
are.
lap is
Okay.
not going to be your fast lap because you start from like a 0 speed, right? The second lap you're coming in with some speed, so don't worry too much
Yeah,
about
if-
the first lap. Just get
If
used
you're a
to
good driver, that's what happens.
Excellent.
I'm
driver.
continually smashing walls and fences.
Yeah, I was doing that too. Don't feel bad.
I watched you play. You were good.
Thanks. I've been around the block. Oh, the
Didn't.
block, guys.
Oh, okay.
No, I actually won once. Back
I
in
gotta-
the day when it was OG racing days, but then the last one was terrible. I was second last. and that's when I decided to retire from esports.
It gets pretty competitive. I tell you
It
that.
does, yeah. Some of these guys are insane.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh man.
You're doing okay. At least you haven't gotten stuck.
You're just letting your country down. So.
Oh, I didn't hit the wall that time.
You're,
Give
you're
me
letting
some
our
sats.
queen down, Brad.
Our queen.
Our collective queen.
Every time I hit a wall, the price of Bitcoin goes down $10.
Ah, shit, let me check my block.
Okay. Coming through the barn. That's a difficult corner. Everybody crashes there.
Yeah. Wasn't there a cow that used to walk across?
No,
there?
he still walks across. There's a cow that
Oh,
might
you
be
should
here.
activate it. So Brad wants
He might do
the
actually.
cow,
I don't know where
and
he
you
is
can
though.
make
yeah.
some carnivore burgers.
I need a handbrake, man.
It's you can
Who's
drift
drifting?
actually if you jump and press move.
Oh, there's a jump. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, you can
there we
drift,
go.
but yeah,
Okay. Whoa, jeez, what a jump.
you have to hold space after you jump. If you keep holding down space,
I wonder-
you can drift.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
Okay, so I
Yeah,
think I collected 13
Jump is
coins,
too
Brad.
high. That's,
Let's see how many
that's,
coins you get.
that's some early beta feedback there. The jump is too high.
thank you.
I just almost jumped over the fence trying to do a
Yeah, you're
drift.
probably right there. I don't think the game really needs jump either, but
No, it does.
Oh, wow.
Like
Yeah, yeah,
the
it's
jump
quite high.
is like a
Oh,
rocket
you
boost
just
right now.
okay, one more lap, final lap. I think Mags can be
Oh.
comfortable with her, unless this lap is stellar.
I don't think this lap is gonna be.
But to be fair, you know, we're going to have other Bitcoiners on who will be just as bad, I'm sure. I think Nick Dore is going to be quite good because he's a gamer.
I'm a gamer too, man. It's
Okay.
this is not the skills that I'm developed though. I've developed.
You have to get used to
Are
the
you like a
mechanics, yeah.
first-person shooter?
What's that?
Are you a first-person shooter, or what kind of gaming?
I like to play Overwatch.
Okay.
With my daughter, we play that together. I usually
Okay.
go with characters that are not required to have Twitch-based controller skills. So Moira and Symmetra, tanks and stuff.
Wait, what's a Twitch-based skill?
Good reaction time and good aim.
Oh, okay.
See, it's something that fades as you get older, right? It's like...
Oh,
Well,
really?
I developed really well on
Reaction
my
time.
computer skills with FPS, with mouse and keyboard. And then when I was like 30, I started switching to try to
Okay.
play with friends on consoles. And then like this skill is like, you can't compete with kids that grow up on that.
Yeah, I'm just logging down your time. Okay, interesting.
Uh-oh, I don't like the way that sounds.
Okay.
Sounds like you boosted your speed a lot and it made a difference.
Okay, let's. Okay, that's good. Thank you for that. Okay, I'm so happy that was smooth and it worked. Hold on. Let me just get rid of the game.
Is this your first time playing, Brown?
Yeah.
Wow.
Why? Was it good?
No, you're not doing bad. Like, you haven't gotten turned around, for example, and gone the
but-
wrong way.
I smashed into a wall like every 5 seconds though.
I did that too. But
Okay.
the worst was one time when I didn't get turned around and I was just going the wrong way.
There we go.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to submit the times. Who should we do first? Oh, let me just turn this
I'm
on.
gonna-
Your broadcast
I'm
stuff.
gonna fleet this QR code.
Yeah, click that and somebody will be able to withdraw if they do it.
150 sats.
Christian, your broadcast stopped. I don't know why. On Restream.
Did it? I'm still streaming. Can somebody from the audience confirm if we're still streaming?
I mean, I can still see it on my phone.
You can't? Oh, maybe it's just.
Oh, that's the Periscope. Yeah, we're gonna upload this as like a YouTube video anyway, so I'm recording it so
Yeah.
people can watch it. Okay.
It still says live.
Yeah. So let me enter this time. So I'm.
Now I want to see. Okay, so I'm gonna reopen that game and see how much you could have boosted your stuff. Huh. You know, Christian, that might have been a good thing to say that you could do.
I did tell you actually three
fair.
times.
What?
Yeah, I mentioned it. Okay.
I must
You
have
know,
been
you need to have an effect on the points so that it's like growing, shrinking, and flashing.
Yeah. So this game was So just to give a bit of context before I do the big reveal, we actually were going to do all these gaming events with a different game at like all the conferences. Sorry, my husky just appeared. But then all the conferences got cancelled, so we kind of had to quickly make Mint Gox and make an online game. So this game has been we've kind of been playing it in production. We've actually got somebody on board to help out, like a proper game dev who worked on some like pro games. So she's going to really help us out and polish the game up. But yeah,
Cool.
loads of stuff we can add to it. But yeah, okay. So Max, how do you think you did? Do you think you did better than No Coiner Ned?
I don't know. When I saw your reaction, I was like, "Oh, the no coiner, yes, possibly."
Oh,
But
I'm much better than a no coiner. I
no,
have
it must be much better. No, but I'm actually really worried that I missed the opportunity of boosting some of the stats, and I wonder to what extent it actually had an impact.
I
'Cause
think you.
I should be presumably better than someone who's never played, or else, like, come on, I'm super terrible. So I would imagine I'd be better, just because I've done this track a few times.
Well, my screen says finished first, so.
You were
I'm
the
up.
only one.
Okay, well I'm going to refresh the page. Can you? Oh, you probably can't see it, can you? Because it's not on the stream. I'm going to send this in the chat, the stream to the website, which will have the score. And our audience.
Are you
can
going to show it on the stream? So, 'cause
Yes.
I'm watching the stream.
Yeah, it's on the stream. Then you can watch it on the stream. There we go. Mags at 67.589. You are better than a no coiner. So that's something to be proud of.
You beat No Coiner Ned?
I mean, I got a reputation to uphold here.
So
Wow, great,
Brad,
congrats.
your name is Brad Mills. That's
No
right, yeah.
coiner Ned. I like that. No coiner Ned.
I was going to go with no coiner Norman, but I thought Ned was a bit better.
No, I like no coiner Ned. It's got a
Okay,
nice ring to it.
I'm just putting in Brad's score into the system.
And now ultra coiner Brad.
So how do you think you did, Brad? Do you think you did better than a no coiner?
She beat him by a good 10 seconds, so I'd say I probably did just slightly lower than No Coiner Net. I think I did like
It's a bit
70, probably 78 seconds or something.
I have faith in Bitcoin Brad.
So you think you did worse than Ned, actually? Okay.
I think I did a little bit worse than Ned, yeah, because I crashed into the walls a lot.
But there was 3. Maybe there was a lap where you didn't actually crash
Yeah,
too much.
Ned was terrible. So he was pretty bad.
What? Did you just say Brad was
No,
terrible
Ned.
or Ned?
Ned was terrible.
Ned.
Oh,
But
okay.
Brad was very
Ned.
good for his first time.
Poor Ned. He's like watching this.
There we go.
He's like, I ain't your friend anymore.
You
All right,
just
let's see.
beat him. The stream takes a while to upload, but yeah, 75.259 seconds.
Oh,
So
I just
you're
beat
better than a
Ned.
no coiner.
Wow, nice. Way to go.
And Peter, I think we'll leave your score for
I'm a little
another time,
relieved,
maybe.
I must say, even with the handicap.
Yeah, I was watching your stream. You were doing good. You had good control and not smashing into the walls a lot.
There's a video of one of our current champion, and he won't let me share the video because it reveals his
Okay.
racing lines, but the guy's insane. It's like literally every line is perfect, and I think he races like go-karts in real life as well, so he knows the lines. But anyway, congratulations, well done, you guys. I think that was very good, especially
Thank you.
it was your first time, and the important thing is
It
you're
was
better
fun.
than a no coiner. Peter, next time we're at a conference or something, I'll bring a laptop and we'll have to do it then.
Yeah, you can get on
Yeah.
the leaderboard.
But you've got like months to practice in the meantime, so
Yeah.
awesome.
See, normally I play like Transport Tycoon, so a different skill set.
We will have like some first-person shooter type games coming that we might do a similar thing with if that's more your skill
That's
set.
awesome.
But yeah,
I
awesome.
found out I'm a grenadier. I just like, yeah, you could do the sniper rifle, but I'm just going to come out with the bazooka every time.
I'm not terrible at Doom, I'll say that much.
Okay.
Well,
Nice.
I think
That
yeah.
still has quite the community playing.
Oh yeah.
Well, Quake and Doom are
Definitely.
kind of like I did a lot of research because I was trying to work on some like Quake mods and stuff, but like they're like the Doom. It all started from kind of Doom. Well, it started from Wolfenstein 3D, which then became
Yeah.
Doom, which then became Quake, and then Quake kind of was used for Half-Life, and then Counter-Strike was built up, and all the first-person shooter games kind of evolved from like John Carmack, pretty much. It's pretty.
Although it's interesting how
Unreal's a
Doom
bit
seems to
different,
be
but-
one with like the biggest level editing community.
Oh really?
Probably
Okay.
because, of course, it's 2.5D, so it's easy.
Yeah, I see.
You know,
what
the
you mean.
moment you add that third dimension, just the amount of time you spend goes up so much.
I think just like light mapping as well. People don't like to light map. If you know, like light mapping, it's when you have to kind of bake
Yeah.
or render the light. It takes ages, and you basically spend 8 hours to see that it didn't work.
Yeah.
But I think there's What was I going to say? Yeah, I'm starting to see a little bit of a lightning kind of modder hacker community starting with some of these old games. I think we're going to see some exciting stuff coming soon.
You know what? I do a lot of VR these days, and I was thinking if you could do Beat Saber, and every slash that you get, if you could get a Satoshi, like that's some great incentive there.
There was somebody who was working on that. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
the company that I founded makes like SDK tools for game developers who want to add Lightning into games. So we did have one guy or girl in our chat was saying
Cool.
they want to make a Beat Saber game.
That's got a strong community too. Like they're modding levels and everything for that.
Yeah, I had to mod it for my wife. She's like, Chris, I want this song, do it. And I had to like go and like research Beat Saber modding and had to set up like all the green screen and everything, so she can just upload her bum on Instagram when that's all she cares about. But yeah. But yeah, no, I kind of think like gaming does have this kind of hacker style kind of culture around it, and I think there's an analogy there with a lot of kind of Bitcoin hacker type feels. And I think like the only thing that made it difficult was just we didn't really have a scaling solution, like, you know. But now we have Lightning. I'm really quite excited, and given time, you know, I think it makes a lot more sense to try and mod an existing game than it does to try and build your own game. Which you know, so I think we're going to see some exciting stuff next year. But I've said too much already. Can get in trouble. Yeah, so I'm conscious of your guys' time, but yeah, you guys have given me like almost like over 3 hours or something. It's really appreciative of that. So we're just gonna close up, but I'm just gonna give you an opportunity just to kind of let the audience know where they can follow you, where they can find out more, etc. So if you want to go first, Max.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm on Twitter, CryptoMags.
CryptoMags, yeah. We'll link to that when we tweet that. And did you have a podcast as well, Mags, or you stream sometimes?
I'm doing some live streaming, either off Twitter or MetaMesh. So I do consulting work in the Bitcoin space. We also have really expanded into multimedia because that's kind of where the world's headed. But I mean, traditional, if you need Bitcoin assistance.
I would also say if you have
I'm really getting into mining right now because so I used to work on a lot of low carbon projects.
You did some green mining. Sorry, I was meant to ask you about that actually. Green mining. So.
Yeah, I was so excited to see Square and Jack when they launched that new initiative towards green mining. Only because like I can actually connect all the different parts of my life that I used to work on. So I used to use carbon markets, electricity markets, and now crypto or Bitcoin markets, right? And so. As I think it's really interesting where we're seeing mining going. If you can start to apply things like heat recovery to either bring down the cost of Bitcoin, or just from the perspective of like everyone's always talking about how environmentally destructive Bitcoin is, but it doesn't have to be. And there's so much that is being used in the renewable space, and then also just kind of connecting the whole. Even when we were talking to the different bankers when we were trying to launch the fund, we had questions come up where, our investors are concerned about corporate social responsibility, and how does mining connect with that?
Yeah, a lot of people won't touch Bitcoin because of environmental issues. So if you can kind of alleviate those concerns, I think it can win over a lot of people.
Yeah. So if you're on like, a low carbon grid, it's very different. Or if you're doing things too, like imagine if you're on a low carbon grid plus using the heat exhaust to do other things like they're growing fruits and veggies, and that could have a big impact in places where there's
fruits and veggies
and marijuana. I mean, like, hey, you've got security anyways for the miners. You might as well.
You can grow vegetables for the cows to eat, and then you eat the cows. It's what you're trying to say.
It's legal. There's no shame in just saying you're going to grow some pot.
Yeah, there you go. On a large industrial scale.
I mean, I could buy it from the Canadian government directly on a nice online store.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, what's actually interesting is farming in Ontario traditionally has been massively, they're using coal because the environmental regulations, because it's food production, it's not like, they're not as strict on it like other industrials like cement and steel. And so tons of, coal, which is the worst fuel to be used in terms of environmental impact. And so if you actually, like, for example, switch them to the electricity grid and use the heat to grow fruits and veggies, that's already an environmental win there. I've been really diving into mining, and I think seeing Jack and Square kind of really throw that to play, funding towards that, I think was personally kind of exciting to me, and seeing BlackRock really come into to Bitcoin recently, both CEO and CIO comments, and thinking back when 2 years ago, BlackRock really kind of made waves in the investment community when they were talking about, like triple bottom line thinking, we need to think about beyond profit, be socially responsible. So when a company like that, that takes that approach, has made an impact in the corporate environmental scene, and now they're talking about Bitcoin. So obviously, they might also kind of shift. I don't know what kind of investment decisions they'll be making. If they're like, could you imagine if people are kind of like, well, I actually want Bitcoin that was mined sustainably, and that's what we're about.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of this seems a bit funny to me because Bitcoin inherently will always be using more renewable energy than anything else because your marginal costs are so cheap for it.
Yeah.
The marginal cost of wind when you don't need the power is zero.
Well,
Exactly.
that's the
Or
thing.
hydro.
One of the
Hydro
Same thing
issues
with
is
hydro.
these things waste money when
Yeah.
if you can store that money, or if it's not being used, or you have excess power, you can put it into something useful, I suppose.
Like for example, natural gas prices have really risen in Alberta, and anyone mining there has been impacted. And then once you tack on things like carbon price, so if you're using coal, if you're using natural gas, that will impact it, especially as different countries kind of like ramp up their emissions targets to 2050. So if you're on renewables, you're in a good spot from the marginal cost and from the
Well, it's interesting you mentioned like natural gas. I mean, I was just actually looking the other day at what are the the actual graphs of electricity production in, sure enough, Alberta and Ontario, and because wind and to a lesser extent solar is such a big thing now, natural gas basically all goes to offsetting wind. Because the moment, of course, wind doesn't blow, well, then they go fire up the natural gas. Yeah. And
But
that problem is not going away, and will probably wind up getting used on Bitcoin.
Yeah. Well, Ontario too, like we've got 50% of our base load is nuclear anyway, so that's all carbon.
No, Ontario is actually a bit worse in terms of in terms of the swing due to wind, because proportionally we have even more wind power than Alberta does, and it's concentrated in a smaller area, so the swings can be higher, because of course one weather environment can go and basically impact all of the wind in Ontario.
Yeah, the East Coast and West Coast are very hydro heavy.
I think England needs to work on some sort of renewable power from rain. We'd have plenty of. It's like
England does have a fair bit of hydro, but
we have like windy coasts and stuff, but
like the big issue with hydro is you got to figure out where are you going to put the dams, and if you don't have area that's at least its topographical variation, it's really hard to like figure out where you're going to put reservoirs.
I think we're going
what you want is like Grand Canyon and a big place that's also compact.
Yeah, England is quite kind of temperate in a way. It's nothing too extreme. It's kind of like grey and kind of bit windy, but it's never like a hurricane kind of thing. So
Wouldn't it be nice if you could put Tesla roofs and power walls in houses and then use Bitcoin miners to heat the house?
Fucking A.
And have it be economical? Is it possible to have it be economical and use the Bitcoin mining machine to heat the house?
I used to do
that. The problem
is
it depends where you are, because heat pumps are your competitor. So basically anywhere where it doesn't get too cold, the heat pump will probably be the cheaper way to do it. But anywhere where it gets cold enough that a heat pump stops working, that'd probably go make sense.
I used to heat my room with the Bitcoin miner, but
if you're near a stream, Brad, maybe you can do some like small hydro.
I think kind of Bitcoin is.
Go ahead, Christian.
No, I was going to say I think the Bitcoiners like the idea of being able to kind of fuel their full node with like their own renewable stream outside, and then that connects to the satellite. Like they're kind of self-sovereign with energy as well. So maybe there's.
But hold on. There are companies. There's one out here. I just did an interview with them last week called Mint Green. They're getting in a big way into district heat. They're already powering production, industrial processes or food manufacturing. So a distillery, and they're also helping make sea salt. But they're for a while now they've been heating a lodge up in northern BC instead of baseboards. Like if you're mining
with Bitcoin mining.
Yeah. Check out my feed. I talked about them. They're doing some cool work there. And so the idea is to partner with commercial space, any kind of low grade heat source. So if you're drying sea salt, for example, to make artisanal salt, that's a perfect application. If you have a distillery, if it's not like super intense high heat that you need within a certain thermal band, you can use miners, and what they're doing is immersion cooling. So they're putting it in that special liquid because it's a much better heat conductor than just air.
Do you think it's fair to say that at some point the cost of miners will be nothing? because they're going to like reach the plateau of their performance, and then it's all going to be about energy. I guess a lot of issues about having miners to heat your home, it's like a miner costs more than like a radiator. You know what I mean? It's an expensive piece of equipment.
Yeah.
But as those costs come down, maybe it's all about energy.
The thing is, so there's two types of costs you want to go talk about. One is your actual cost for the equipment, and then the other one is the cost over how long the equipment lasts. And as Moore's law kind of dies its final burst, it won't really matter how much the equipment costs, because silicon doesn't really wear out if it's designed right. So you'll be able to amortize that initial cost over a much longer time period.
And if you can swap out those chips too, right? Because like they're continuously improving. Like the S9s.
Thing is, all the cost is in the chips.
Yeah, it's like a chip and a heat sink, pretty much.
But then the power cost, like if depending on what your rate is, then that's it's the biggest. It is the biggest spend when it comes down to it. But if you can, for example,
same thing for like.
To a customer,
but the power cost would come in to you if you have to heat your home, right? I guess it's how efficient is that, right?
Really cool.
Is it less efficient?
Anyways, it's beautiful.
Like I say, remember, heat pumps are your competition because they can get more. In case people don't, listening don't realize, like heat pump essentially an air conditioner running in reverse. So it takes heat from the outside and puts it in your home. So it can get more heat than the electricity actually has in the beginning.
Why would you want heat from the outside?
Because it's free energy.
But if it's cold out...
Yeah.
Well, if it's not too cold, you can actually make it colder outside, take that heat, bring it inside, for less cost than just turning the electricity directly to heat.
So even if it's cold outside, there's some heat in there which it kind of separates and
Exactly. Yeah, it works exactly like a refrigerator. It's just you swap which end goes where.
How do you separate out heat?
Well, your refrigerator gets heat from your kitchen air, right? And it's even hotter at the back, so it's getting that heat, I guess, in a way. It's separating it and concentrating it and putting it out the back, maybe.
Like a refrigerator is taking something that's cool, taking more heat out of it, and sticking it out the back, right?
Yeah.
So a heat pump.
Confused.
It's like everything has
heat
heat in it.
Moves heat.
Even cold has heat, but if you just get that heat and concentrate it, it feels hotter in a smaller space. I guess outside is cold, but it's just a lot of heat spread out. So if you condense it, maybe.
The outside is cold, but it's still a lot warmer than absolute zero.
That's true. Yeah, I remember I took an ice bath a few months ago, and then I got out and I felt hot. It was weird.
But how do you convert cold into hot without
there's no such
fire?
thing as cold. There's only heat.
Well, all right, I'll give you the explanation. You go and take a gas, you compress it to the point where it's much more compressed. That'll cause it to go heat up. You release that heat to something else, then you send it through, and then you re-expand the gas. And as it expands, it absorbs heat. Right? Because essentially, your molecules in your gas, like they're little molecules, and as they get further apart, that represents less movement, essentially. So what we call heat decreases. Like the temperature is essentially how fast the molecules in gas are moving, and if you separate them, that speed effectively goes down, right? Because they're not bumping into each other as much, and then that lets you use that to go move heat from one place to another.
You're changing
I don't know if I believe you, Peter.
Well, look this way. How on earth does a refrigerator work? It takes heat from something cold and puts it to somewhere warm.
What does that mean? It takes heat from something cold?
Well,
because it's taking.
There's no such thing as cold, really, is there? There's only heat.
So
well, only
because from that.
It's only cold because you've plugged it in and it makes it cold, right? So it has to start being warm.
I think cold is relative, right? It's not cold. It's only cold to your skin temperature, really.
Like your refrigerator can make something
cold. Your refrigerator
cold,
is warm compared to ice. If you put ice in your fridge, it'll melt because the fridge is warm compared to ice. So in a way, it does have heat in there.
Is the freezer and the fridge two separate things, or do they work in synchronicity or something?
Well, if you want to get the technical bits, basically the way they usually work is they go two separate coils and then just pick different, essentially different amounts of refrigerant to expand for those two areas.
The show titles for this show is
one's colder than the other.
Bitcoin gaming and refrigerators.
Thing is, you can take something that's warmish but still cooler than something else, take that heat out, it gets even colder, and then you put that heat into the warm place. That's why it's called a heat pump. It's literally pumping heat.
It's funny because the heat pumps are a new phenomenon in Nova Scotia, and
Yeah.
most, like, I grew up with no air conditioning, and most people didn't have air conditioning on the east coast of Canada because it doesn't get as hot in Nova Scotia as it
Yep.
does in Ontario. When I first moved here, I was like, this is like the desert. This is like Africa. It's like 40 something degrees at a couple of days of the summer. I'd never experienced that on the East Coast because you're surrounded by the ocean and everything.
Yep.
You know, we'd get like 25 degrees Celsius days, and that would be a hot day. Sometimes it would maybe peak at 30, but in Ontario, you get 40, 41. It's nuts. Some days with the
not quite that warm, but like 35, but it'll feel 40 something.
with the humidex. Yeah,
totally
it's
humid.
like crazy, sweltering heat. So, anyways, it started to get, you just suffer in Cape Breton. You just wouldn't sleep for a couple of weeks very well because it's too hot. But now everybody's using these heat pumps, and they look like little air conditioners that are stuck to the side of your house.
Yep.
And a house I just bought in Cape Breton has a heat pump in it, and I don't know how to use it yet. We're renovating the place, but I think I'm like, this could be a way to mine Bitcoin in this house because
There you go.
the guy has the heat pump all directed down into one room in the basement with, I think he was growing weed or something in the house. Because why would you
my
put your
God,
heat pump?
it's perfect.
Because heat
It's like
rises,
it
rises
everything
up.
goes down. And I don't know.
You put it at the bottom and it rises up and heats the house. I don't know.
But
yeah,
you're gonna
maybe
have a tough time getting the new equipment.
for what, the mining?
Yeah, I hear they're like booked out at least until the summer.
Well, in terms of the idea, like, how feasible is it? Because the only reason I'm thinking about this is because my furnace blew 3 days ago, and I've been like using electric heat, like space heaters, for the last 3 days.
A Bitcoin miner would be
do little ones for homes too. I'll connect you with them.
The miner.
Yeah.
The only issue is just the cost of the equipment. That's it. And the reason why that's an issue is still mining is still improving.
Like, I remember when I was mining, it was like 2011. I had a rack of graphics cards, like 24 or 36 graphics cards in my room, and it was consuming so much energy that they put me up into a commercial rate. It was like 20 cents an hour, a kilowatt hour, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then after a couple of months of that, paying that bill, and Bitcoin started to crash to like $5 or whatever. I'm like, I can't afford to be running these Bitcoin machines anymore. But
the East Coast, I think, is cheaper electricity rate than Ontario.
I don't know, but the practical use of the heat, actually generating the heat, might make up for it. I don't know. Would it make up for it?
It might have to
if
do
you
some
need
math.
it. Yeah. I mean, I think the
Peter,
big answer to this is just, it's always, what is your situation? What are the costs?
Yeah.
Like, that's just the reality of it.
Brad,
I knew
why
somebody.
Don't you just grow some marijuana right
Yeah.
now?
I knew somebody who lived on a military base in Japan because her husband was a soldier. So she just got a miner because electricity was free. Courtesy of the U.S. Army. So it's circumstances, right?
Some people I know are using the 3090s for Ethereum mining, and they're like, I'm making $150 US per month. Like,
plus you're getting heat.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was actually thinking of, because there's this service called it's an animal name. It's not coming to me right now. It's like Crypto Badger or something like that, and they allow you to mine with your computer or any equipment.
Oh, did you fall for a cloud mining scam?
No, it's not cloud mining. They mine altcoins and convert it into Bitcoin. So it's like the average person can still mine Bitcoin with their gaming computer or whatever, because they're just mining whatever's the most profitable altcoin and converting it into Bitcoin for you. I thought that would be a great service for anybody. That you tie that to a heating unit while the altcoin boom is going or whatever. I mean, you could mine Bitcoin, or if it's more efficient to mine altcoins, you could do that and then convert it to Bitcoin and generate some heat, generate some Bitcoin. Would it make sense? I mean, it seems like maybe.
It depends on your power. It depends on how much, like how large scale too, I think it is, and the mining equipment. Because my understanding is the newest machines are like 30 times more, more. There's then efficiency gain and also the hashing power. versus like the S9s.
I know.
Yeah, there's that coin miner too that they released that's like a size of an Xbox and it just mines cryptocurrency.
Mhm.
But a friend of mine bought one. It's like $1,000 or something. It's mining
I
him
kind
like
of think mining
5
is always
a
going to
day.
be competitive, so it's, if anything
Yeah.
is simple and makes you money, it won't be for long because everybody's going to do it, and then
Because everyone will get in.
so
Yeah.
it's one of those
The
things.
market.
You have to be ahead, right?
Or
But the
or
key
it has to
difference
make
with that
sense.
is for the people who can do something with the heat,
Yeah.
they will always have that advantage.
Yeah.
You know, that's
That's
the
Because
curious
they're
thing with
using it
economics.
anyways. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah, it's your
if
special
a lot of
circumstances.
heat,
Yeah.
like an industrial process, right, or a manufacturing process.
Yeah.
Or even like poor people. I was thinking if it's economical to do like a philanthropic sort of altruistic kind of capitalist thing where you subsidize people's who are living in poverty to put these machines in their homes and help them heat their homes and reduce their
Yeah.
Well, I
electricity,
guess there
their
is a
heating
lot of
costs.
heat made by mining. If that could be funneled somewhere, right, and there's a way to do that, it makes sense because it's just wasted at the moment, right? So, yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
yeah, I'd say just it's just going to take time for the economics to go settle down, and most capital projects go operate on much longer timescales than even Bitcoin's existed for. And it's quite common to go talk to someone installing a hydro plant to have spreadsheets to talk about what's economics going to look like in 50 years.
Yeah. Steel plants, they would buy the biggest piece of equipment, which is the coke oven, and it's like a 40-year life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
Anyway,
was a coke oven right where I lived, actually.
Yep.
on that note, we've been going for quite a while, guys, and my dog. No, it's
Yeah.
all good. I really enjoyed this. Actually, I was worried that nobody would have anything to say. So I think we've talked from
We always
gaming to
do.
Bitcoin to how a fridge works. We got some comments on the stream saying I didn't know how a fridge worked. So at least
I
somebody's
still
left with some-
don't. Peter, you're gonna have to come on my Magic Internet Money podcast and
You can explain how a fridge works.
how a
Oh, I
fridge
can do
works.
this.
Bitcoin developer
How a
Peter
pro-
Todd is here to go explain
How
how your
I have to
fridge
say
works.
this because I got a projector, but how a projector works will make you
Oh,
think.
those are really cool. I could definitely explain that.
Because
Oh, okay.
you would say it reflects light, right? But then a mirror doesn't work with it. You can't project on a mirror. You need a white screen, so it doesn't reflect light. And then it can't make black. It can only make white. So how do you have black colors on a projector? It's quite interesting once you start to think about it.
Yeah. Well, that's why people's high-end sort of theater rooms, they go paint all the walls black to make sure that the blacks in
Can
their
be as low
projected
as
image don't get desaturated by all the light in the room.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. You just
Yeah.
have like super white light, which becomes grey or something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I remember
Oh.
one when I was working in a call center, and a friend of mine blew my mind by telling me that the speaker could record audio.
Yeah, it's just a
And
microphone, isn't it? In a way.
It blew my mind. I'm like,
it's a
no,
coil
that's
and a
not
magnet
how.
moving in.
That's not how the universe works. A speaker
Yeah.
projects audio out, and he's like, no, it can actually
Yeah.
record audio. I'm like, no, it can't. And then I still think about it. 20 years later, I still think about it.
He's right. Absolutely can. And some of them can do both at the same time.
And they can generate electricity, technically, I guess, right? It's just...
Well, that is.
That's what a microphone is. It makes small amount of electricity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some exceptions, but most microphones actually do generate very tiny amounts of electricity.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that gets amplified. Yeah.
Oh, it's such an educational podcast. I thought it'd just be dumb
Yeah.
and talking about gaming. So that's a good sign for Canada, right? It's intelligent people. Yeah. Have to try with Americans
Or
next.
at least dumb people trying to be more intelligent in my
Yeah.
case.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to let you go, guys. But I think
Yeah.
Mags, we can follow you on Twitter, and Brad, you have your own podcast, Magical Internet Money. I want to say. Magic
Yeah,
Internet
we
Money.
talk about how your household electronics and appliances work.
If you want to know about fridges, freezers, toasters, Brad is your guy. And Peter, where can people follow you best?
Well, I've got my blog, which admittedly doesn't get updated much, but that's petertodd.org. And then Peter K. Todd on Twitter. And for the stuff I'm working on, actually code-wise, I'm on GitHub at, again, Peter Todd.
Awesome. Okay, great. Okay, thanks a lot, guys, and hopefully we'll do this
thank you.
again and see if you can beat
And
your
how do
school.
people follow you, Christian?
Oh, did just follow me, Gox or Mandelduck. I'm known as a Twitter. It's my Twitter. Mandelduck. I followed you like this morning, so you might see it there.
Nice.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys.
Followed you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank
And
you.
Yeah, see you guys soon. Bye.